Hello and welcome to Leonard Reviews. I'm David, and you can see by the box we're going to be reviewing the Pebble Smartwatch. Now, to give you a little backstory, the reason I got this watch is because typically I've been getting watches like this. $5, $10 cheapy watches from Big Lots, Walmart, whatever. You know, they just show the time, maybe the date, a basic watch face. And the problems I've been having with these watches are either they've been sitting out for so long and the internal clock battery died, or it's just fading, so it would constantly lose time. It would just start blinking 12 randomly, and I'd just get fed up with it. Or the watch band, in this case, would break. And it'd be cheaper just to get a new watch because it's under 10 bucks, and to actually replace it with something that would work out would cost more than that. So I got sick and tired of these watches. They were unreliable, they're harder to read, they didn't last as long, and I was rather rough with them. So I replaced it with this. Behold the Pebble Smartwatch. Now, of course, as you can see by the box, this is the standard watch face. It runs on a 144 by 168 e-paper display, so it's like e-ink, like your typical e-reader on the Kindle or the other ones. There's several watch faces. This is the normal one. This spells out letters. There's also one for analog face. There's one for the date and time. This one is tilt. This one's really cool because it uses the accelerometer in the app to tilt the time. Although it obviously takes up more battery power, so I tend not to use that one. This one is my favorite because it shows Bluetooth, which is how it connects to the phone or other iOS or Android device, the battery life, the date in full, the time, and basic calendar. So that's my favorite one. Normally, in order to look at battery life, it would be like in the top right corner here. It would show if the battery life is completely full. If you have a day left, it'll show a very low bar, and it'll show whether you have like an hour or two left. You really do need to charge at that point. It would be like a slash inside it, or if it's charging. The way the phone charges is with this little cable here. It's magnetized, so you just go to the left-hand side here, and it just clips, just like that. Real simple. And on one hand, it's more complicated than typical micro or mini USB, because if you lose this cable, you have to order a new one. It's a proprietary cable. And even between this and the Pebble Steel, it's the sequel to this, the successor. They have two different types of cables for that. But the good news is it's harder to break. So I've seen a lot of mini and micro USB cables break off in the connector or have other issues, but this, this won't break. And it also allows it to be waterproof, 5 ATM or 40 meters. So basically you can swim, go into the shower. I just washed dishes. And a lot of people are complaining about scratches on the front of the screen. I think it's just the people who paid for the Kickstarter version. This is actually originally a Kickstarter project. I got this Best Buy a couple weeks ago, and they got so much money out of it. It's one of the more popular ones, like the Ouya as well, which I may later review. But it looks, the front is plastic. There's a back button on this side, top, up, down, and select buttons on this side, and a basic rubber watch band, which is also easily replaceable. It's like 22 nanometer or whatever measurement that allows it to be user replaceable. Unlike the Galaxy Gear, this one's closest competition, it doesn't have a camera. It doesn't have a microphone. It doesn't have speakers. It just has vibration. So if you get any notifications, the main point out of the box, it can connect with iOS or Android, and has its own little app, which is right on here. This is a Nexus 5 that I'm using it with. My brother also has an iPhone 5C with iOS 7, so if I need to make an addendum for this review to show how it works on iOS 7, I would do so. Leave a note in the comments if you want to know, but generally this is my phone. I use Android predominantly, so this is how I test it out. The actual watch itself only has about a megabyte of internal storage, and each of it's all divided into apps or watch faces. So I have 8 slots, which has to be divided between the apps and watch faces I use. And when I want to use different ones, you have to have an internet connection to actually exchange apps. Even if you're taking one off, it has to have an internet connection for some reason, but it doesn't actually store them on the phone. It just has this locker. At least this is version 2.0. This is a beta release. I decided to review this product later after getting a significant amount of time with it. So I have more options to review various apps and things that are pretty interesting. So if I go to the Get Apps section on this beta, this is being 2.0, the standard version it comes with is 1.5, and it's hardly as much support as this does. So it has like a basic interface to find various apps. You go to the watch face section. Pretty much any kind of watch face you want, as long as it will fit on the screen resolution. You can put whatever picture or design, whatever you want. It'll fit on here, which is pretty cool. It makes it like nice customizable. If you want your favorite sports team or favorite anime or whatever it is to be your watch, you can do it. No problem. There are plenty of different apps on iOS and Android that allow you to make those edits and substitutions yourself. And there are plenty of games too. So if I go over here and see what games I got available, there's a select button here. First, actually go to like music. Unfortunately, I don't have any royalty-free music on here, although it will connect directly to whatever device and then play music through it. So if you have like the Bluetooth headset connected as well, you can change the music without having to pull out your phone. So that's pretty cool. And notifications. This has the backlog of notifications. Basically, if you don't turn the watch off, I think it takes like a week worth of notifications. So they can pile up pretty quickly over here, unless you turn the watch off each night, and then that takes away all those notifications. You can set an alarm, which at whatever time will just vibrate to turn to try to wake you up. This is a complete list of watch faces if you don't want to scroll through it through the main watch face interface. Settings for Bluetooth is Bluetooth 2 or Bluetooth 4. It's 4 specifically. Version 4 is specifically for iOS and iOS 7. I'm trying to get connections there. Notifications set up so you can go through and tell it when you want to vibrate or the text size, bigger or smaller. Display, backlight. So basically, if I turn on motion, I can actually see a nice and clear backlight. Once it turns off, I can actually shake the watch to turn it back on again. Or not. Well, no, it normally works. Anyways, again, this is all like 2.0 early beta version of the software. So if certain things do not work, that's why they're still working on it. They're still tinkering with it. Generally, the watch is visible. I mean, if the camera would focus, it's visible in low light with the backlight and normal sunlight. It looks just fine. But in order to increase battery life, what I've typically done is to shut it off each night, turn off Bluetooth when I'm not using it. So throughout the morning, I wake up like 4 in the morning, turn on the phone. I actually leave my phone, it stays off because I'm working and I don't need it on at the time. So then I turn back on my phone in the afternoon. And now okay, there we go. A little issue there. As for games, there's Tiny Bird, which is Flappy Bird. So that's pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. Asteroids. Pretty awesome. You use the top button to top or bottom to rotate around, and use the center button to accelerate or fire. And there's also like a God mode on there too, so you can not die or anything. There's the dice app. I think it's pretty cool if you're a D&D player like we are. Take any of those typical dice and it'll just roll you a d20. Get your stats there. It's cool. The timer app, I think it's pretty useful. Egg timer and stopwatch, so you can set. And what's nice about this one, if you have it on egg timer, it'll vibrate repeatedly for the last 5 seconds, so that you notice it more than just like a constant vibration or a sound as you would get from your phone or whatever. I don't know how much longer it'll take because a lot of people have like this phantom vibration, especially if you've had regular phones or smartphones for a while, and you like think, did my phone vibrate? Did I get a call or a message? Or used to that with watches. I don't know how prevalent smartwatches will end up being, but if they have this sort of phantom vibration on your arm instead of just your pants leg or wherever you keep your smartphone. This is Arkanoid, so you get that loaded up and. Breakout, basic stuff. Anyways, there's an app called Pebble Snap, which I loaded on the phone. It automatically loads it. At least it should. There we go. And so I have a little camera preview of what's going on there. So the idea is if you're trying to take a family photo or whatever, or take a small video, and you have nobody's around the phone or whatever device you're using, you can get a preview on the watch face. You can stand in front and say, like, you move a little left, move a little right, whatever, and take the picture without anybody having to control it. So remotely, so that's a pretty cool feature. That's currently in beta for Android, but it's available for a couple bucks. I think the companion apps on iOS are more prevalent. Anyways, more on, I think, back in settings, maybe. But yeah, there's the option to shut down. So most of the actual official status reports, they pretty much say that people get like 4 to 5 days of very heavy use. If you get tons of emails and text messages and other features on your watch, you get about 4 to 5 days of battery life, or a week if you're using less. I got 2 weeks out of it because I did, as I said, I turned off Bluetooth when I wasn't using it. I turned off the watch when I wasn't using it, and generally did not get as many messages as most other people probably would. So in order to get rid of an app or put on an app, we'll just take this Tilt, for example, and tell it to unload. And then it goes away. And it'll take this 12 doctors, which, because now that there are 12 doctors, there are 12 representing 12 hours in the day. Sometimes this takes a little effort to get working because it's beta and doesn't necessarily load properly. So it may stall or it may fall apart like that. Loading to Pebble failed. Let's try it again. If I give it another shot, maybe it might work. There we go. And fortunately, when I first got into the beta, see, now it's Matt Smith 18, so it tells you it's 11:18. And what's cool about it too is in the settings, you can include the War Doctor at 8:30, so it's a pretty awesome feature. So as every hour, it switches to a different face of the doctor to tell you what hour it is. There's a bunch of other apps. There's Pebble authorization, so if you get messages to text messaging to authorize private payments, whatever, you can receive them on your watch instead. There's audio recorders, so you can tell your phone to remotely record audio. There's this fair weather report, so you can get sunrise, sunsets, what moon phase it is, and exact temperatures, and so on. Because there's the accelerometer, there's also the ledge climber, so you can tilt the watch to control that one. There's Tetris. There's a coordinator. If you play guitar, it'll tell you what major, minor chords and stuff, how to play them on a guitar, so you can just have that on the side. In general, I really have enjoyed the device so far, especially considering the competition only lasts maybe a day. It has its own proprietary charger, and the camera on that one's only 2 megapixel, and it's color touchscreen, but I can't imagine trying to touch this 1.5-inch screen and getting it to do much of anything. It'd be kind of silly. The Pebble Steel, normally this price is $150, so it's a bit pricey. I would think if you can find it for $100 or less, I would definitely snag it, because that would be a much better deal. But for my particular needs and for what it's been doing for me so far, I've really appreciated it. I've really enjoyed it for what it can do, and it certainly hasn't broken on me in a week like all these other cheapy watches have, so that's definitely a good thing. There are other apps. There's like health trackers, so you're supposed to be able to track calorie count because of the accelerometer on your arm, or put it on your bike and see how fast you're going. It can connect to the GPS of the phone, and you can receive maps. There are certain apps that let you transfer direction information if you're using the GPS. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be a phone. If you don't want to spend money on a smartphone and a plan, you can just use a cheap iPod Touch or a cheap Android tablet. It's not exclusive, or like the Galaxy series or the Galaxy Gears. It's lightweight, it's comfortable. I'll just put it on my arm to indicate how it would typically look like. So it fits, and it has got a lot of holes on it. It's very accommodating to larger or smaller arms, and and it's got a kind of a curve to it too, so it doesn't feel like a big brick. Unlike the Galaxy Gear, I tried that on, and it just feels like a brick on my arm and can't really rotate it very much, but this has a nice curve, and I think with the up-and-coming curved LCDs, like they have the Fitbit or whatever other ones that have actually, arm curvature to them, those would probably be even more accommodating. I noticed a lot of people with these Kickstarter versions, they may have paid $50 less. They got it for like $100 or $115, but their Kickstarter versions, they're prone to scratching apparently, and the battery life isn't as good apparently on those. But this has a Gorilla Glass, and I've tried scratching it, I've tried smudging it, and it's still very clear, still a very capable system. So basically, I was going to demonstrate what it looks like. There's an option in here if you don't have any text messages or phone calls when you're using the app. If you go into, not settings, support. I think it's support. Yeah, support. You can do text notifications. So this is what it looks like when you get a text message. It shows you the number, shows the text. This looks like when you get to phone call. And it'll buzz, and it'll allow you to answer or reject the phone call, which is cool. If you have the Bluetooth headset on as well, you can just, without even pulling out your phone, see who's calling you. And it's more convenient for if you have your hands full or whatever, you can just look at the side of your watch, and there's an email. Emails do not show the complete message. They just show most of it. But text messages, I think they show the whole thing. The thing with this, too, also, is that it doesn't come with a brick to actually charge it to the wall. You have to either hook it up to your computer or hook it up to one of these kind of things with a USB power supply and a little AC adapter. I got this one for like $20. It's actually solar charged too, so I can put it up in the window and it can easily charge my watch without having to use any of my own power. So in general, it looks a lot better than this, and it runs a lot better too. And so it has a lot of superior features, and it works pretty well for what it does. I haven't actually tried again to run it from iOS. I've heard it does run a little better, that there are more options because people are designing companion apps on iOS more so than on Android. There are also betas for BlackBerry and Windows Phone. If you have any of those phones, it doesn't matter if you have any of those operating systems. There are also a beta to get it to run with Bluetooth on computers. So if you have Mac or Windows, you can do some at least basic updates. They haven't worked on yet adding new watch faces or apps. I'm hoping at some point that they'll increase the memory, or at least somehow split it up so that it's not taking up the same space. Or if I don't want a certain watch face, like this, the analog one, obviously if you choose a watch face that doesn't have to update as often, you won't have as many issues. So it's like something like that, or this, they work pretty well. In this battery life, at least the ones I found externally, other than the one I described earlier, they show in 10% increments. So right now it says 60%, and it's probably really like 69, 68, something like that, because it goes straight from 60. It'll go straight from 60 to 50, and it really just doesn't show anything in between for some reason. That's another complaint. The Pebble Steel costs an extra $100, but of course it has a metal front, and also has a steel or leather wrist strap, and it also has double the memory, so it's like 2 megabytes instead of 1, but they still have it limited to 8 watch faces or apps, and it also has a little LED indicator in the corner which shows you when it's charging or when it's low battery. So I think if you have the money and you want something that looks more like a professional watch, it does look like a $200 watch. And you can easily do that with this too, if you want to replace the watch band with a more professional watch band. Although it comes in a variety of colors. The only one they had left for me to buy was red, and so I didn't mind too much. Anyways, if you like this review, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, happy reviews.